tonight. We have one of our board members and a TIL parent advocate, and who's doing a wonderful job on our board and helping us out, and we are very appreciative for this presentation tonight. What do you want to title this?
Strategies for dealing with behavioral challenges. Sounds good to me.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nicole Barros. I have 3 children. My oldest will be 18 next month. That's a lot of fun. And I have a 7-year-old Jaden. He's the one that's on the spectrum. He has autism spectrum disorder, and he was recently diagnosed with sensory input disorder. And then I have a 4-year-old typical daughter, Janae. So tonight, what I'm going to do is, let me briefly explain. Jaden first got his diagnosis when he was 2. At the time he got his diagnosis, I had no idea what autism was. So I went to the hospital, he was evaluated, I got his diagnosis, they gave me a folder and set me on my merry way. I remember the day I got the diagnosis. I just sat in my car crying and crying and crying. I had no idea what autism was. I had no idea what I was going to do. And Jaden was in the back seat and he was like, Mommy, what's the matter? And at that moment, I was like, this diagnosis is not going to take a hold of us. I'm going to do what I need to do because my baby's going to get better. Because when I got his diagnosis, it was he could stay the same, get better, or get worse. And I was determined for him to get better. So I just drove into going to support groups like this, going to meetings, going to training classes. And I've been doing this for about 5 years now. And so what I like to do is come to groups like these and give back to everything that I have learned so that no parent doesn't have as hard of a struggle as I did. So what I'm going to do tonight is I've started Autism Starter Kit, and it's different tools for everything that I have used for my son. So I'm going to make this a very informal meeting. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. If you want to comment or give feedback, please do so, because as I learned from going to different support groups, even though I might think I know everything, I don't. Some other parents have given me ideas, which has helped me as well. So we'll make this very informal. If you have any questions, please interrupt me. And at the end, every tool that I go over tonight, one lucky winner is going to get to bring it home. So the raffle will be going around, so make sure you get a raffle ticket. So what I wanted to start with is the first thing is called a behavior chart. It's color-coded, and this might look familiar to you because a lot of the Boston public schools use this. And what it is, it's to help a child deal if he's having a hard time in school and to sort of keep him on track. And what it is, it's broken down into colors. Green means the child is on task. Yellow is the child will get a warning. Orange is a 5 minutes timeout. And red is they lose an activity. Now, Jaden, my 7-year-old who's on the spectrum, he's very, very intelligent. So what he told me was, Mommy, we have to lose one activity. So he wrote a 1 in. And then he said, if I'm on a behavior chart, everyone else in the house has to be on a behavior chart. So that's why you see where my mom and dad. And then Jaden he's 7, he has imaginary friends, so his imaginary friends are on here as well. So the way that this works is in the morning, everyone starts off with the color green, because that means you're on task. And as the day progresses, if you do something wrong that you're not supposed to, then you move on to yellow. And then if you do something again, you move on to orange, and then finally to red, where you lose an activity. So a lot of things like this you might see in a classroom. It might be a little bit different, but a lot of the classrooms use this. And yeah. So Jaden, and if someone does something wrong, he's so quick to change their color. But if I change his color, he gets mad. And I'm going to kind of run through all these really quick because I want to be able to touch bases on everything. But before I move on, I'll always ask if you have any questions. So on this one, does anyone have any questions on this? Okay. Oh, and by the way, this you don't get to take home. Jaden will kill you. Okay. And this is another thing that I'm going to use. And this, I wish I had time to order more. My son goes to the Jackson Man and had a training class last week, and I was so impressed with this. I didn't have time to order more because I would love to have shared it with you. But the way that it works is, if you, Jaden really doesn't have an imagination. He does everything after mimicking and recreating. Like, he can't think of a story on his own. So what these are story picture starter cubes, and I'll try and hold it up to see if everyone can hear it. See it, I'm sorry. So what it does is you have the blue cube, which there's different people on the cube, and then you have the orange, which is different things on the cube. And then you have, I'm sorry, the orange is different places, and the green is different things. So the object is to try and get the child to use his imagination and create a story. So by doing that, you would take these 3 cubes and you would roll them, and whatever picture comes on, the child would have to come up with a story. Like for instance, I rolled a zoo, grandparents, and jewelry. So what I could just come up at the top of my head is, once upon a time there was a grandparents who took their grandchildren to the zoo. And the children were very good at the zoo, so they went to, what is it called? You just have to remember, right? Because they were so white behaved, they went to the gift store, yes, thank you. And the little girl was able to get jewelry. But see how you just take 3 things and you just come up and it helps you recreate your own story? And so when I first started this with Jaden, he would roll it and he would get mad if he couldn't think of something, so he would change it. And I'm like, that's fine, you can change it, because the goal is we want them to use their imagination. So if they get stuck, it's okay for them to change it. As long as they're using their imagination and creating a story, I'm happy. And so you can play this with different people, like you can have one child do it, and then another child, like the child could do his portion, and the second child could pick up from where they left off and start their own story. Or if your child is really good, you can combine all 6 of them. This is great because I'm telling you, my son, all he would do is recreate and say over and over again what he's seen on TV or what he did in school, and I was just like, oh my God, when is he ever going to have an imagination? And this works. I get so excited about this, I don't know. I think I like it more than he does. And what you can do is, you can even take it a step further, and you can have the child write a picture of the story he created, and write down the sentences, what he said. And this is really good because it helps with their imagination, it helps with their visuals of drawing a story, and then their writing of writing the story. And for anyone who is interested in this, you can get this at learningresources.com, and all you have to do is, it's learningresources.com, and once you get there, you know how it comes with the search bar, you would just type in Story Starter Picture Cubes. But what I'll do is I'll leave this up front if anyone wants to come and take a look at it or write down the website. Does anyone have any questions on this?
You said it's Story Starter Picture Cubes?
Yep, Story Starter Picture Cubes.
And what tablet, what notebook are you using?
Oh, this is separate. This comes as one item, and this is just a separate thing that I put together with it. It's just a simple, you can probably get it anywhere, just paper with a picture block. But I love this. Okay. Now we come on to the fun stuff. So like I said, when my son was 2 and he was first diagnosed, and they told me that he would need ABA therapy. I don't know how it is now, but 5 years ago, it was so hard for me to get ABA therapy for him, and I just kept trying and trying. I was determined not to give up. And finally, I was able to get him ABA therapy for 27 hours a week, which was great. And what I did is, at that time I was working full time, but I always piggybacked what the therapist did, so when the therapist left, I could continue on doing what she did. And one of the things that helped Jaden out a lot is the token system. And a lot of these things that I'm going to present to you tonight, you can get at the Dollar Tree, like you can make them your own. This is actually a pill box, and I just filled it with marbles. But the way that it works is, let me just take all these out. The way that this works is it encourages the child to learn. Let's say, for instance, if you were trying to teach your child the alphabet. And so and I'm just going to keep referring to Jaden because that's my son and it's just easier for me. So let's say if I was trying to teach Jaden the alphabet from A through Z. And I had all the letters out on the board, and I would say, Jaden, point to an A. And if he pointed to an A, I would be like, good job, you earned a token. And then you put it in here. And then you move on to the next one. Let's say if I said, Jaden, show me a Z. And if he didn't point to the Z, he just wouldn't earn a token. But what you could do is take his hand and show him where the Z is and say, this is where the Z is. So it kind of gives them, you know, they'll know at the end, once they get a certain number of tokens, they'll get a prize. And we all know our child, so you could do maybe 3, 4, whatever tokens you feel they need. I wouldn't do 1 because that's really not a motivator for them. And you can determine whatever prize you want. I will say whatever prize that you're going to give your child, make sure it's not something that your child gets all the time. Because if it's something he gets all the time, it's not really going to work for it. Or if you want to use something that the child loves, you can use that as a gift, but then make sure you take it away so he can't get it at any other time. And so that's the way that this works. Oh, okay.
We're at 7:30.
Oh, okay, perfect. Does anyone have any questions on the token system? Okay. And a lot of times when I refer to prizes, which I'll talk about later, I usually put the gifts inside like a treasure chest, something that he'll know that he can see and that the prizes will be in there. And some of the tools that I use today will deal with a treasure chest. You can use anything, like I use a white box, you can use a shoe box, you can be creative and have your child decorate the shoe box, whatever you like. The one that we use at home, I don't know if anyone can see it, is my sister was going through a closet and she was throwing these things away, and she came across one thing. I don't know if she used it for a jewelry box, but it actually looked like a treasure chest, and I was like, oh my God, I want that. I love that. I don't know if you can see the picture, but this is our treasure chest at home, and I have it filled with like the little face cloth. You add water and it turns into like a big face cloth. I have like fruit snacks. I have like the little things that you get in gift bags that turn around. Just little things, something that he'll look forward to.
Will you pass it around?
Oh, sure.
Show and tell?
Just so you can get an idea. So I'm going to leave this up here because I'm going to refer to this plenty of times. And this is the last thing that I'm going to show you, that whoever wins this won't get. This I can't give you just because of liability reasons. If you were to take this home and choke on it, SpedPac doesn't want to be responsible if your child does. But everything else that I'm going to show you, the lucky person gets to take home. Does anyone have any questions? And if I'm going too fast, please tell me to slow down. Or if you want to ask questions, I welcome questions.
Do you have ideas for older children, those who may 10 to 15 years of age, for anyone here who has older children?
I haven't reached that bracket yet.
Or have you had resources from other parents as to how this can work, or would this same thing work, for older children?
I believe you can use it for any age and just tailor it to that child. Like Jaden, when I use the token system, like he was, at the time he only had a few words. I would have to figure out what he was screaming. He had no eye contact, so we worked on things like that, and as he was able to accomplish that, he would receive a token, and as he got older, it advanced. Like we might start off with letters, then we might start off with words, or a lot of times he had difficulty making the social connection of like what sounds animals make or what they do, so we used it for that. But I'm assuming you can tailor it to your child. Yeah, and these things that I'm going over tonight, I don't think they're just for like autistic children. I think they can be used for any child, honestly. I use it for my 4-year-old daughter. She is such a diva, and sometimes she needs stuff like this. Another thing is, before I forget, a lot of the children are very visual learners, and they need to know like what's coming next. Or my son had difficulty with transitioning, moving from one thing to the next. He used to love Thomas the Train. He would spend hours just going back and forth, or staring at the TV. And before I got the diagnosis, I was like, I have the perfect child. He is so good. Little did I know that he would be diagnosed with autism. But so I say this because he had difficulty transitioning from one thing to the next. So this is referred to as a PEC system. It helped a lot because it was, and the way that I have it set up is for at bedtime. So it allowed him to see, okay, first we're going to brush our teeth, and then I know next I'm going to take a bath, read a story, and get ready for bed. I also use this for when it was time to leave the house. Jaden refused to leave the house. It was horrible to get him to leave. So what I did was I took a picture of my car. I have a black Toyota Highlander. Took a picture, laminated it, and put it at the end, like when it was time to go outside. So he knew when he's seeing this picture that we would be going outside. And also, like, you can involve the child with you to make it more fun. For this one, the first step for us for going to bed at night is to brush your teeth. So once he brushed his teeth, I'd be like, good job, have him take it off. Okay, the next thing is to take a bath. And also I find when you're using these different behavioral techniques, it's good to give them praise. They love hearing praise that they're doing a good job, and it helps to boost their morale as well. So then we move on to take a bath, take it off, and the next one is read a story and bedtime. In this, you can put it this way, you can put it this way, or some parents I find like to put magnets on the back to hang it on the refrigerator or hang it somewhere else. Okay.
Can we do show and tell?
Sure. And the person who gets the bag will have over 60 laminated pictures. And also these are the different pictures. Those are the different pictures that I have. And you can make these on your own. I know a lot of stores, for those who don't have a laminating machine, they have self-laminating sheets that you can use. And if you decide to make this at home and you ever come across where there's some picture that you can't find, just get in contact with me and I'm sure I have it. I have tons and tons of pictures. But does anyone have questions on how the PEC system schedule works?
Can I just ask a question, Nicole? Do you have to have Boardmaker or something to get the pictures, or is there like an online place that parents can, if they need pictures, they could get them? Or?
Back then, 5 years ago, you used to have Boardmaker, but Jaden's therapist would give me pictures, and he was nonverbal, so at the time I just kept collecting pictures and collecting pictures. Now there's a lot. You can Google, go into Google.
Clip art, yeah.
Yeah, clip art has it. There's so much amazing things out there now. But if anyone is really stuck and they really need a picture, just contact me and I'll be more than happy to get it for you. Because Boardmaker is expensive. It's like $400 or $500, I think.
Google.
Yeah. Or you can even use pictures from like a magazine, anything like that. There's tons of things that you can use. Okay. So another technique is called the first then board. My children are 2 years apart. They are constantly fighting and arguing and going back and forth. Or if it's dinner time and I want Jaden to eat, he doesn't want to come eat because he wants to play. This first then board comes in handy. You can use it for several different things. Here there's a picture of a boy and a girl. And I don't discriminate, so whoever gets the bag, there is a dark-skinned children here, and there's also light-skinned children in the bag, depending on what your family is. So the first then board works is if you're trying, for instance, if you want your children to learn to share, and they're always fighting. My son will say, I had it first, and my daughter will be like, no, I had it first, and it's just like, oh my God, can you please stop? So the way that I'll choose a child, I'll be like, okay, Jaden's gonna have it first, and then Janae. That doesn't work if you say first Jaden, then Janae. They don't hear you. They're like still arguing. So you want to put it up to their eye level and just keep telling them first Jaden and then Janae. And the tools and it just made me think of something else. The tools that I show you, and I'm going to say it now before I forget because sometimes I'm all over the place and I forget. You can use two tools at once, or if you're starting out to use a tool and you get frustrated because it's not working, I would say don't give up. Keep with it for at least a week and a half to 2 weeks. After a week and a half to 2 weeks, if the child just doesn't like it, then stop, because it doesn't make sense to frustrate you or the child. And not every tool is going to work for everybody. You know your child best, so you just figure out, which one do they like. Because the goal is we want to help them to get them to learn. There were some things here that Jaden didn't like, some things that he did like, or I started out using, he didn't like it, and then later on down the line, I would go back to it and he loved it. So it all depends on really their mood, their age, or whatever. So I said you can use two tools at once. What I'm going to combine is the first then board with a timer. At home, we had the electronic timer, but if you don't have that, you could use this as a timer. And the way, let's say if a child had to share and you said, okay, in 5 more minutes you're gonna get a toy. So you would show them 5 more minutes and then a minute goes by. Okay, 4 more minutes and then 3 more minutes until you get down to 0. I will say if you're gonna use this tool, make sure that you're cognizant about the time because our children, pay attention to that. You don't wanna say 3 more minutes and it's been 10 minutes. That's not going to be good. So it's a good tool for you to use. Just make sure you're aware of the time as it goes. But later, I use this little strip for tons of things, so I'm just going to keep this out. So the first then board, again, can be used for sharing. Like if a child, if they're fighting, you can say first Jaden, then Janae. Or you can even be really creative and take an actual picture of your child and use the children's picture on here as well. Or we also can get really creative and we can do my turn, your turn. So you can switch it up whichever way that you like. And my favorite of all is when my kids go to bed at 8 and we don't get home till 6. So it's like boom, 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 like we are set on a schedule. We have to do the homework, we have to eat, we have to take a bath and do all that fun stuff. When my children are playing, forget it. They don't want to do anything else. And this is another handy tool, and I'll show you. And I love these because these are like so interchangeable. Let's say if Jaden was playing or your children are playing and you want them to come eat and they don't want to eat. So you can show this to them and say, first eat, then play. And you might have to keep saying this a couple of times until they get the point, get the hint of, okay, you have to eat first and then you're able to play. So it helps them as well because as I said, they're visual learners, so they know, okay, I'm going to eat first and then I know I can get to play. So that's another way to use this. Does anyone have any questions in regards? And feel free, because we're all parents and I learn from, I believe we can learn from each other. So if you think of something that I haven't mentioned, please feel free to share it with me. I welcome any suggestions or comments. Does anyone? Yes.
So since I am one of those parents that will say 3 more minutes and then it's 10 minutes later,
Yes.
2 more minutes, I use our oven timer because then everyone here, or any timer, so that everyone hears it and there's no denying who.
Yeah, Jaden, this wouldn't work for him because he needed to hear the beep.
Yeah.
So the electric beeper works, but this is just a way if you can't. But I didn't think of the oven timer. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think you had a question. I'm sorry.
Another question, I was going to say this for me will work with my son. He wants to drink juice first and then eat.
Oh, yes.
By
You
the
can
time
get a
he gets
picture
to
of
the
a
food,
cup.
it's full with liquid.
Yeah.
That will work.
This is perfect. And honestly, all these things that I'm showing you, it can be made at the Dollar Tree or the dollar store. This is just construction paper, laminated with writing over it. You don't have to go to a fancy store. You don't have to spend tons of money. I'm telling you, all this stuff I got from the dollar store. So this is the first, I love this board. It so works. And when you're doing the tools, please do not give in. No matter how hard it is, do not give in. Our children are very manipulative. They'll know I'm going to throw myself on the ground. My mom's going to get frustrated and she'll be like, go ahead. Don't do that. Stick to your guns.
But sometimes you do have to give up. Last night my son, he asked for food. I gave him food. I thought he was full. And then he came back asking for food. I said, no, that's enough. He came back multiple times. Finally, he came back. He lifted up his shirt. You see, Mama? You see my belly button? He said he's hungry. He wants cereal. I had to give up.
I think I would have gave in too. We don't want to think our children are hungry. Yeah, I think that would be an exception. But that would be a great exception. So does anyone have any? Yes, back there. And I apologize if you can't see this. I'm kind of short and I need to.
My question is, have you been able to in any way incorporate any of this in the class?
In the classrooms? Some of these ideas I stole from my child's teacher in the classroom. Yes, and what you can do is, you know what? If no one has any questions, I'll move on to another tool that I got from the classroom, but all of these you can work with your teacher, work with the child's teacher as well. Because our children just don't have a difficult time at home, at school as well. And like I said, my son is very intelligent, and you'll see why in a minute. So Jaden had a difficult time following the classroom rules. He would disrupt the class, he would run around, he would yell and scream. So what the teacher came up with was a contract where if he followed the rules, at the end of the day, he could go in the treasure chest and pick out a prize. So again, here we incorporate the treasure chest with this. And what this says, and this teacher would always, she would send this home with me as well so I can know whether or not my child had a good day. And so what it says, and I left it blank for whoever gets it, they can write their child's name in. But it says, I will follow my rules. If I follow my rules, I can go to the treasure chest for a prize. If I can't follow my rules, I can choose to take a break and return when I am ready. And with this one, we know for children who have a hard time in class, they're not going to snap their fingers and be good all the time. So what we came up with is, we'll come up with this contract, and if they mess up, okay, give them another chance. But you don't want to give them 3 or 4 chances because this won't become effective. So what the teacher would do, and I would know whether or not Jaden would be able to get a prize out of the treasure chest, is on the back, there's a happy and a sad face. So if he had a good day at school, she would put the happy face up here, and I would know that he followed all the rules in school. If he didn't, she would put the sad face. Now, my child is very intelligent, and he would have door-to-door transportation. So, you know where this is going. So while he was on the bus, he would change it and put a happy face. So that every single day, he would tell me he had a happy face. So what I did was, we have a communication log, and I encourage everyone to have a communication log with their teacher. It's a notebook that goes back and forth, or it could be emailed. We had a notebook, so the teacher would write her little note for the day, and at the end, there would either be a happy or sad face. So I knew whether or not my child changed this. Because our children are very, very intelligent.
It's 7:45, but I'll let you.
Oh, it is?
No,
Okay. All right, I'm gonna...
no, just let you know.
So this is another, and this you can use this at school. Does anyone have any questions? And I'm gonna try and like fly through all of this stuff because I want to touch a little bit upon everything, so whoever gets this, they'll know how to use them. But if in fact you find that I went too fast, or you want to make this into another meeting, just let John and Carolyn know, and we can break this up into different meetings. Because I want to make sure I couldn't survive without these tools. I'm telling you, my whole life evolved around this, and if it wasn't for these tools, I think I would have been lost. Today, like my son was very low functioning at 2. Today he's 7, he's very high functioning, he can speak. Sometimes I want to tell him to be quiet, then I have to remind myself I'm thankful that he can speak. And he's just so intelligent. So does anyone have any questions? The only thing I ask is, can I get all these back so the lucky winner can have? Okay.
I'm watching.
Oh, so this board. Yes.
I was going to ask about two things there. I'll
Sure.
slow down. Is it because he didn't feel like he was able to break? He often do that? Does he ever choose to do that? How does that work?
Well, it's funny that you asked that. My son just over the summer got diagnosed with sensory input disorder, where we realized that he can only sit still for no more than an hour. So the way that it works now, he's in class, and after an hour, the teacher lets him go off to the side or like in the hallway right next to the class to do jumping jacks, or for him to pick up a book and get a break. It all depends. If your child's having a hard time in school, that's something that you can build into their IEP or work with their teacher as well. But yes, because it's a lot for them to sit still in a classroom all day.
Did you ever ask him to do a functional behavior assessment?
Yes, and that's how we did a functional behavioral assessment and a sensory input assessment as well. The functional behavioral assessment, that is great. That looks at the behavior, it looks at the psychological, that's great. And it also tells you like exactly, like my son, I realized that he just didn't have sensory issues, he had behavioral issues as well, and that covers everything.
What's the other name? The first one is functional and the other one?
Oh, it might be referred, you might hear it as FBA, and it stands for Functional Behavioral Assessment.
What about the other one?
Oh, the other one is sensory input disorder.
So you asked the school to do that? I'm just asking because.
Yes,
in-
well, I would
in
talk with
December,
the, I
we're
would,
going to have our
because every
IEP.
child is different. No two children are the same. So I would ask your teacher and work with your teacher, like, my child is doing this, is he doing this in the classroom? Or what do you see? So that you can make sure you're getting the right test. Because maybe the FBA might not be for your child.
Oh, I think it is.
Yeah. Hi.
Is that in the psychological evaluation or the IEP?
Not that it's done in the IEP, it's something that you request, and then based on the outcome of that, they'll make recommendations. Hi, yes.
Could you repeat what you said prior to that, because this woman couldn't hear it back here?
About the FBA, was that the question? It's FBA, and it stands for Functional Behavioral Assessment, and that is an assessment that is done if your child is having behavioral problems to try and figure out what's causing those behaviors, where are they coming from, and what can we do to help improve the behaviors. That is something that you have to request from the school. It's not something that they'll just automatically do.
And it is separate from the psychological evaluation.
Yeah, those are two different, but the FBA does build into the psychological at some point.
Can I just add to that? It's
Sure.
like behaviors don't necessarily just mean bad behaviors either. They could be stimming behaviors and stuff that needs to be addressed with the student as well.
Exactly, yes, thank you for clarifying that. Because my son, his like sensory, like with light or something will make him bolt off, or loud noise will make him scream, or the fact that he just can't, sometimes even the room, he gets too overstimulated, where he just acts out. So thank you, it can be a number of different things. Okay, if anyone doesn't have any more questions, I'm going to.
Sensory input disorder.
Another thing that my child struggled with when he was younger is he didn't know how to express himself, or he couldn't pick up the social cues on being sad or angry or reading a book, like he couldn't tell by the pictures. So what I did was laminated different pictures, and we worked on it one by one. Like to get him to understand what happy meant, there was a happy picture, and then you have to get really silly and act it out. Like I would throw up a ball and catch it, and I'd be like, yay, I'm happy, and keep repeating it until he got the idea of what it meant to be happy. And then once he got the gist of that, I would move on to another one and do something like act out mad. Like, you know, Janae hit me, ow, I'm so mad at her, and do that. I would only try and work on one at a time, and then once you feel that your child has conquered them, you can mix them up and, you know, show me what it means to be sad. Show me what it means to be happy. That way you're understanding if your child is understanding everything that you've taught them. Okay. This next one I love, and I want to make sure I cover this. And I actually got this from another parent, and I'm so mad at myself that I didn't think of it myself. I would refuse to bring my son into the store. I just absolutely would refuse to bring my son into the store. I didn't want people staring. I didn't feel like educating is a nice word, educating people on why my child is acting the way he is. So some people said, well, you can use like a checklist. Like, you know, okay, we're going to go to the store and we're going to do this. I was a parent who said, I'm not bringing him. Jaden's therapist told me, you know, you're doing a disservice to your child. He has to learn how to go to the store. You know, you can't just do that. So a parent told me what she did is she takes pictures and puts them on this so that the child's focus is on the pictures. Okay, we have to go get toothpaste. We have to go get milk. We have to go get apples. So that they're not paying attention to all the other surrounding people or getting distracted. And he would like, okay, we're gonna get toothpaste, take off the toothpaste. Okay, we're gonna get milk. This helps because he's so excited, he gets to hold this, he thinks he's doing something. We are in and out of the store. I'm not gonna tell you this is gonna allow you to stay an hour in the store. I've worked with Jaden, we're up to 15 minutes. That's great. So I know if I'm doing a big shopping, I'm not gonna bring him. But 15 minutes, he gets the idea, get him used to going to the store. And I did it in increments. We started out with 5 minutes, like getting 1 or 2 things, and then moved it up. And you know, your child will tell you when enough is enough. So we worked up to 15 minutes. I'm happy with 15 minutes. Really quick, the yes and no.
Slow down, girl.
Okay, the yes and no, and you can put magnets on the back of these. These I use, Jaden would have he would love to play with the knobs on the oven. So I would put an X to let him know, no, you can't touch that. Now the TV, I don't mind if he changes the channel, so the yes would be near the TV. These are just something quick and simple that you can teach them for yes and no. Okay. Yes.
So taking them to the store, I let them play, get them smartphone, I let them play with the smartphone.
Yes.
I put my son in shopping, so I said, what do you need for your snacks? And then I let him go and get what he needs for his snacks.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And then if you don't have a lot of money, they get really excited to do a baking project. So we make cookies, or like we do the big shopping, then we'll make cookies or cake. And then have one of his cousins come over. Like if he's really good, then we'll have his cousins come over and we'll all bake a cake, cookies, or bake a pizza,
Oh, that's a great idea. I like that. See, that's why I encourage everyone to share so that I can learn these great things and add them on. Thank you so much. Okay. This, I'm using this right now and it works. My son, with his sensory input disorder, his behavior has gotten out of control. He's like yelling and screaming. He has a hard time adjusting his voice. He like attacks children a lot of the time. So I want to encourage him. And this, I hope everyone can see it. It's a chart that we use. And I found with a lot of these behavior techniques to use positive reinforcement. You know, sometimes it's not always good to say, okay, if you act up, you're not going to get this. This works, does the opposite if it's a positive reinforcement. Okay, if you do good listening, gentle hands, meaning you don't hit anyone, and use a regular voice, you can earn a prize. So it's positive and it encourages them to be positive. So what happens is if I see Jaden doing good listening, he'll earn a star. And if I see him using gentle hands, meaning not hitting, he can earn a star. And this one is a regular voice. He has a loud voice, so we try and tone it down. I always say inside voice. I don't know if you other use that term as well. I'm constantly like, Jaden, our inside voice. And again, you know your child best, so you can determine how many stars they need to get before they can get a prize. It can be 4, it can be 3, 2, or 1. This is great because he's so happy. And again, children love praise. So when he gets a star, I make a big deal of it. I'm like, yay, high five, you got a star, I'm so happy. And then it encourages more and more that he wants to earn these stars. So this is another tool that we use. Okay. Really quick, in the handouts, what I wanted to go over is 2 things that I think are great. In the handout, you'll have something that says communication is key. And what that is a lot of times we want to like yell at our children like, stop, don't do that, no jumping, no running. And all that is, it's reinforcing the bad behavior because the child is just hearing running and shouting. So what this says, instead of saying, let's look at it, instead of saying no running, we can say walk. So we're turning the negative into a positive. And I was so guilty because I would, okay. Okay.
Are you on this one, communication?
Yes.
Okay, so the back of your handout?
And so like, you know, I'm guilty of this and sometimes I still catch myself where I have to say like, we don't want to say no running, no jumping. We want to turn it into a positive. Instead of saying don't run, we can say walk. You know, Jaden would jump on the couch and I would constantly say feet on the ground. When I first started using this, I had to walk around with this because I'm like, my instincts wanted to scream no running or no yelling. And then after a while, as I used it more and more, like as soon as I was about to say no, the light bulb would go off and I'd be like, nope, I can't say that. This is really, really good and it works. I've seen a tremendous, less of Jaden jumping on the couch, less of him running by using the positive words. And there's another thing in your handout that I wanted to touch upon is you should have a picture that looks like this. Because what I find with our children, this one is about brushing our teeth. To a typical child, you can say, okay, go in the bathroom and brush your teeth. Our children, the steps need to be broken down step by step so they can understand because they just don't, they can't think to go in the bathroom and put the toothbrush on and do all that like a typical child can. So what this does is it breaks it down and it gives them the visual to see exactly what they need to do and what's coming next. It literally breaks it down step by step. Like the first one is get the toothbrush, wet the toothbrush, get the toothpaste, open the cap, put the toothpaste on, and so on and so on. And you see how it breaks it down and it helps the child? Another parent told me that she uses this when she was teaching her son how to take a shower, like about putting the soap on the face cloth and doing everything like this. And this you can just hang up right in your bathroom. This is an excellent thing. Or if you're trying to teach your child, Jaden used to struggle, and he still struggles too, and I'm buttoning his pants and zippering his pants. And I'm working on this because in the morning I'm rushing. I don't have time to wait for him to get it together, but I promised him this weekend we would take time and learn. But if you want to teach your child how to like zip up his coat or button his pants or something like this is good to break it down step by step. This is, if you are going on vacation or if you're planning for a birthday and you want to help your child get a sense of time, this is a blank calendar for December 13th if we're counting down for Christmas. Because I can't just say, okay, Christmas is in a month, it's in 3 weeks, it's December 25th. They don't really understand what that is. So what you could do is get a blank calendar, and on December 25th you could put like presents or a Christmas tree or something, and then as the days go by have the child exit off. Now let's say if you don't start December 1st, if you decided we want to start on the 17th, that's okay. Just exit out until you get to the 17th, and every day have them cross it off, and they'll know, like, okay, we're getting closer to Christmas, time to open up the presents. You can use this if you're going on vacation or if it's somebody's birthday coming up. This is a great tool. And another thing that I wanted to touch on before I end is a lot of you might hear social stories. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. What a social story does is it teaches a child about a particular thing. It's in a short story form with pictures and simple sentences so they can understand. My son had a hard time transitioning from one class to the next, so we put a lot of work into it. We had to create a social story, which I'll go over, and then in April he would go visit the class that he was going to in September, and over the summer we would read books about going into the new class. So a social story, I said, is short sentences with pictures to help a child to understand something. So me and his teacher came up with a social story, and I'll read it to you. It's quick sentences and it has pictures. And it was talking to him about transitioning on to the next grade. And it says, I will be visiting Miss Moran's room. I am only visiting Miss Moran's class this year. In September, I will be in Miss Moran's class all day. I will have fun in Miss Moran's class, and I will be learning new things. Do you see how it's short sentences and pictures?
One moment, I'm sorry to interrupt. Eileen Nash is going to be leaving in the next 5 to 10 minutes, so if there is someone who has a personal situation that they need to discuss with Eileen Nash, she's still in her office for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay, thanks. So do you see how it's short sentences and it has pictures and it helps the child to understand what's happening? And you can use a social story for a lot of things. Some parents use it to teach a child good touch, bad touch, different things like that. Okay. And whoever is the lucky winner, in here I have 2 handouts. One is a list of different websites for things that we come across all the time, like Early Intervention, Autism Speaks, Family Ties of Massachusetts, Mass Advocates for Children, information on SSI, the Boston Public Schools. Just helpful websites that I've used throughout my journey, so I just wanted to share them with others. Although there is a disclosure on the second page that I'm not responsible if the website changes, so don't come yelling at me if it does, but I just offer this as a resource. And then there's a quick...
We all have it.
No, that you don't. I was just showing what's in here.
No, the list of the website. Can we all
No,
have
but I can get it to you. If you'd like the copy, I can provide you with a copy. Just before you leave, if you want to give me your name and email, I can email it to you. Or if you don't have the email, I can send it to you if anyone wants it. And this is just a quick thing on what your rights are in the school and what the school should be doing. And I apologize. I know I rushed through everything. But like I said, if you wanted to break it down and make it longer, we'll be happy to do another one. But does anyone have any questions on anything that I went over quickly tonight? Don't be shy. We're all here to learn. But if not, I hope you all learned something. And like I said, don't get frustrated if you try something and it doesn't work. That tool might not be for your child. Just move on to the next one and just find what works. But one of these will work and make your life a lot easier. If it wasn't for these pictures, I don't know where I would have been. So thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. I'm glad you came. And, wait. Okay, so I don't want to pick. Do you want to have someone else come? Because I don't want to pick. Does somebody want to pick? Who was the lucky?
All right, everyone have it out. 7, 6, 7, 3, 2, 0. Who's the winner?
Like one of you guys.
7, 6, 7, 3, 2, 0. Woohoo! Come on up.
Just give me a minute to put it back together for you.
While you're getting a minute, come on up and.
In here, my name and telephone number and email address is in here. Oh,
Some of you wanted the website sheet.
I don't know
We'll make some
what
quick
this one is.
copies for you for tonight. Yes. Let's say 30.
if you want to give me a minute, just.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so turn around, share your name, share what neighborhood you're in, and share what you learned tonight for your toolkit that you're going to take home.
All right, my name is Natsanet. I'm from Boston. My son goes to JQS in Quincy, Chinatown. One of the best school, but at the same time, it's very hard. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. I don't know, maybe 100% of her story is in my house.
So we can relate to each other.
Exactly, her story, my 7-year-old is diagnosed with ADHD, so he's all over. Being in Quincy school, hard, tough. It's, last year, especially first grade, was really hard. So definitely will use, her tools, in my house. And he has, in his IEP, we're doing the behavior and, what is that, the FBA? So that's what we're working on. That's all.
Good. Give her a hand.
I'll take it. So let's quickly, for just 2 minutes, turn to the person beside you, introduce yourself to the person beside you, and share something that you're going to take with you tonight in your toolkit. Because we want to have a culture of information sharing, and we want to make sure that we're able to kind of hear who is beside us, who's around us. You heard Nicole share that some of the things that she learned from other parents. She learned from her teachers. I would definitely say the same thing in our journey. Parents are some of the best resources. Those who've been a couple of years ahead of you who can say, oh, you're going to need this. The picture board will save your life. In the grocery store, you won't dread going there again. So just for 1 to 2 minutes, turn to the person beside you, introduce yourself, and share something that you learned tonight.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, like because if you don't put me in my first this is going to push your kid into it. Did, and then my boss was like, yeah, but I want to show you
meet people all the time. And then I have to ask everybody to do it. Right. When you right. For me, it's
All right, 30 seconds of sharing. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, if we can turn our attention back to the front. So just yell out something that you're going to take with you home tonight. We learned amazing resources from Nicole, and when she comes back, we really want to give her another round of applause. The purpose of SpedPac is to be resource sharing, information sharing, but also encouragement building with one another, because we're all parents. or guardians are just taking care of children with special needs, hence why we're here together. And we realize the power of sharing our story, the power of sharing information, but just even the power of a pat on the back to say, you're doing a good job, hang in there. Because there's so much in our journey that can be complex from day to day. And coming here can be a breath of fresh air. So I need 3 people to just briefly share something that you're going to take with you home tonight. Yes, ma'am.
I think I'm gonna take with me the fact that I have 2 assessments that I need to ask the school to do for me. And my question in regards to that is there a place, a website, or a place where I can find a list of assessments to ask for? Because I did not know about these 2, and I think my son needs these 2.
So, and share your name.
Jenny?
Jenny. All right, so Jenny said the thing that she's going to take home with her is the tools of assessment. Really positioning your child well in the classroom. We're going to hand them out to everyone, so you can just take it and pass it around. The tools that your children need in the classroom with assessments. The functional behavior assessment is one key assessment. As far as where you would encourage parents to go, would you encourage them to go to the special education site at BPS to look at the types of assessments and testings that kids could use?
Not sure if that's on there.
Okay, so we probably need to check with Eileen to see what's on there.
Yeah.
So assessments is going to be key. That's something you can even ask your teacher or the special ed coordinator at your school. Okay, another person, share something that you learned tonight that you're going to take in your toolkit. Someone else share, or I'm going to point. Yes, sir, in the back. Share your name and then what you're going to take home.
My name is Evan Knight. My son attends Perkins in South Boston, and I just want to take resources.
Good, good. Thank you, Evan. Thank you. One more person. One more person. What will you take home tonight? Besides the name of the new friend you're sitting beside. Anyone else? What will you take home? Yes, sir. Your name and share.
Steve Bears, Bank of Plain, daughter at Mission Middle School. The idea of having sort of pictorial sequence instead of just like a checklist that actually has pictures.
Yes.
Would probably help a lot for my child. So that's the way.
That's good. That's good. The pictures is key. I love Nicole's idea of showing the pictures of facial expressions. If you have children who are struggling with emotions, showing the pictures of the facial expressions and then modeling it. Talk about a fun game. What does it mean to be happy? Everyone show your happy face. What does it mean to be sad? What does it mean to be surprised? What does it mean to be mad? You talk about the modeling that we can do as parents to our children. It really matters. Modeling matters. And so more of the positive modeling instead of them always seeing, for me, them seeing me mad or frowning. I need to model the smiling and the surprise and the delightful looks on our faces. So the pictorial messages that we send our children and the processes that we give to them as to how they can learn what's coming next. I love that. I love the what comes next. All right, so as we close, we have extra copies. If you know of someone who you could give a copy to, and then, again, information sharing, and you can share. You missed this great presentation that you can go on the website and see the video, but it's really important for us to share with those. If you know of another parent in your child's classroom who needs to be here, one of the things that we're trying to do as a board is to make sure the information gets to the school sooner. And so when we receive it in email, we send it out to you all through the email, but then we also send it to the principals of our schools and our friends' schools. And I went by my principal's office on Tuesday to say, hey, I sent you the email. Did you send it to the special ed coordinator? So this is a way for us to continue paying it forward and passing all this good insight on. There are 11,000 children who have IEPs in the city of Boston. And we obviously don't see 11,000 represented tonight. So there's a lot of information that needs to be given to families. There are families who have no idea the power of their parental advocacy. And we who are here and coming month after month are learning these tips and these tools in our tool belt and our toolkit so that we can advocate for our children. But I also believe that we can be ambassadors to advocate for other parents so that they can advocate for their children as well. So take this information. You can take any of these handouts that we have, and we want to make sure we pass all this good information on. Can we give Nicole another round of applause for amazing research?
And if there's anything that you particularly liked about and you wanted to learn more about, just go on the website and let John know.
Yes, so on your flyers for tonight is the SpedPac email account, and you can send an email if you want to put in it Nicole's presentation, if there are questions that you have, and then everything can get forwarded to her. We want to make sure that we have the feedback on what's working, what's not working, what you need to hear more of at the meetings, who you need to hear more from. If there are Boston Public School leaders that you would like to see present at our meetings, and if there are people that you say, hey, I want to know what the new mayor is going to do for special ed, enough voices, because that is something that we are really trying to position ourselves as he's getting his transition team together, and they're working on all of these initiatives and promises for the city, that we're excited about it, but we also want to let our voices be heard at that level. As you mentioned, as was mentioned earlier, Eileen Nash shared about the Inclusion Task Force team, and 3 of us board members are on that team. I'm Regina Robinson, Diane is on it, and also Carolyn Kane. Diane's in the back, wave Diane. So there are 3 of your fellow SpedPac members who are speaking to the highest level of our leadership in Boston Public Schools, and we want to be a voice for you, with you, but also communicating to the leaders the expectations and the accountability that we are really desiring them to have as advocates for special education in the city. So if there are questions, comments, suggestions, recommendations, things that you want to see us continue to do here, please reach out via the email. That would be excellent. Yes, sir, Evan.
I wasn't going to say it, but because I'm here for my son, but I work at an agency called Children's Services in Roxbury. And we deal with youth that may have diagnosis. They usually have to meet what you call a severe emotional disturbance, but a lot of times a common diagnosis that we see a lot is ADHD, PTSD, things of that sort. So we like to say that we're the alternative to DCF, because a lot of times, there's behavioral issues, and a lot of times our children, they get sent to DCF because of behavioral issues, and people think that, well, the parents aren't taking care of them. But so we can send a team in to help out, advocating for. There's a family partner who, I'm a senior family partner, there's family partners who advocate for the caregivers and can actually go to IEP meetings and help walk them through paperwork for assessments and things of that sort. So it's a shameless plug. I wasn't going to, but I feel like this is the arena to do it. So if anyone has any questions, and you just want to know more about Children's Services of Roxbury, I'll give the number if anyone wants, and it's off the website as well.
Do you have a card?
I don't have any cards with me because I was coming for my son out, but
Well, wear both hats next month next time you come.
My name is Evan Knight.
K-N-I-G-H-T?
K-N-I-G-H-T.
Evan, I will tell you, you all were at the Joan Croc Center a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
we had an executive board meeting last week, and it was brought up at our meeting.
It was.
And it was highly recommended, so thank you for standing up.
Can you get the number?
Yes, it's the main number there to the behavioral health department there is 617-989-9499. And
Website?
the website is childrenservices.org. My personal website, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, it's just, my email address is eknight, all one word, at csrox, csrox.org. And referrals can be made.
Say it again. Say it again.
eknight, all one word, at csrox.org. And as far as like the referrals can be made, parents can make self-referrals. Referrals can be made by teachers, clinicians, best team, anyone like that. So if someone feels like they need that help with, just challenges they're having either with the school, in the home with behavior, we also refer out. So we can form a team for you, so your team could be made up of, just for example, maybe a TM, in-home therapy, in-home behavioral services, things like that, depending on what the need is for your child. So, a little bit. Yeah, CBHI. Yeah.
What age group?
Up to 21.
That's the beauty of this, is, yeah,
What's
connecting with
first?
each other.
It starts from what age?
We want all the way up to 21.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see if I'm
No, I
in the
understand.
range.
Evan, thank you so much for that. And folks, if you wear multiple hats when you come here and professionally you provide opportunities for children, for families, please make sure our time before, our time after, when we have presentations that are very relevant and you want to share, please make sure we use this